sit in their seats, please. The book category. There's only 5 of you.
Should I do a category introduction? All right, welcome everybody to the book category, sponsored by the NZIPP. Love those guys. Book category celebrates the creativity and excellence in presenting photographic content in an engaging and meaningful visual narrative in book or publication format. We're going to do the run-through first. We're good now? We're going to do the run-through now. Yep. Okay, that is the run-through. What's going to happen is each book will be up on here in a digital format, and you'll be able to see a glimpse through all the pages. The judges are going to have a look at the physical book, and then we'll commence the judging process. Everybody happy? Everybody ready? Can we please, judges, come and have a look at the first book? Do I put your scores in first? I think you put your... Oh, are you logged in? Can you log in, please? Sorry. Oh, you got a blank screen.
Do we need to hit judges? Ooh.
Mike.
Judge selection error.
Judge selection error.
Oh, hang on. No.
Judge selection error. Oh, we got some. Oh, we got judges appearing.
I'm back again.
We'll just wait for that. Get you guys all online. We've got 3. Oh no, we've got some problems still.
Is there something I need to do? Or?
Someone is going to come and help. Oi! Sorry guys. Meanwhile, consideration will be given to suitability of the photography for the purpose of the book or publication, appropriate editing and sequencing of the photographs, sophisticated design and layout, addition of graphics, typography or text to enhance the photographs for the purpose of the book or publication. We have a full set of judges. All right, we're going to momentarily rescan. Oh no, you can just click that. You can just click on that and it'll jump across. All right, we have the system loaded. I invite you to look at this book.
So you've had a look. Okay, so what we want you to do now is enter the scores that you set in the other room.
Okay, so for the benefit of the audience, the judges have already had an advance opportunity to peruse the book. It is here if they would like to check anything during the discussion, but they're just going to enter the scores that they've already noted. Ready for the discussion. Scores coming through now. We have an initial score of 74, but there's a challenge coming from the far side of the panel. Tony Carter. Yeah, you talk about it now. You are challenging the score.
Okay, yeah, so I'm on 83. I found the cover quite interesting, but I really respect the layout and the work that the photographers gone to with their thought on the whole concept of this book, and then all the different styles of photography and how it's all laid out. So I thought it was a solid silver.
Thanks, Tony. I'm going to come to you, David.
Yeah.
Can you respond to that? You're at the other end of the scale.
At the other end of the spectrum. I think it's an ambitious book, and it covers a wide range of content, so I want to celebrate that. I just think in terms of its identity, I think there's a bit of I disagree with the design thing. I think there's a bit of a struggle going on there with sometimes too many images per person, and the images fighting with the text. I just want to see the images coming forward more, and I'm wondering about the design, the choice of a landscape format when it's such a portrait book. So I just think it has a few little identity things going on there, and it came from a very lively Facebook project, I believe, through reading through the book. So there were all sorts of opportunities to make something more of that too.
Thank you, David. You were on 66, weren't you?
Yeah.
I'm going to go to Glenn and then Gary.
I was right in the middle there on 73. There was some things about this book that I really loved and some things that frustrated me a bit. Some of the images I thought were very, very powerful and beautifully handled, and then others let it down just a little bit, that they weren't of the same consistent level. What I loved about it was the diversity of photographic techniques. There was a real it was almost a manual on how to shoot a variety of different portraits, especially with the information that was thrown in there. But that led back to an identity problem. I'm with you. I couldn't quite decide what the book was trying to be. So I was right there on 73, which is an award, but I feel it's sitting pretty well there.
Gary.
Yeah, look, I'll reiterate. Obviously, I looked straight at the photography first as the primary source of where my ideas were coming from. I probably would have scored this book higher, but for the same reasons that my fellow judges have mentioned, the perhaps conflict between what's important in the book, and it needed some tight editorial work. There's some repetition in some of the photography as well that didn't add to the narrative. The photography should have been a little bit more dominant and king, as opposed to some of the technical aspects, and the weighting of those things perhaps competed too heavily against the photography. However, I still see enough to see a bronze award in the photography.
Lisa, I don't want to miss out on your voice here. I can see you thinking away.
Yeah, I was just having a bit of a think. I concur with everyone else. I found the design a little bit too clunky and also a little bit old-fashioned. I didn't think that the book design married up to the fact that it came from a social media background, and also the text is too competitive with the imagery, and you can see that there was a lack of design within that. There's too much weight to text. It would have been lovely to have had text on imagery as well, and I thought that the layout of the book was also a little bit too old-fashioned for me. It felt more like a reference textbook rather than a photography book.
Thanks, Lisa. Tony, you do have a right of reply here to address some of these things.
Yeah, I probably do think of it as a reference textbook in a way, and I'm still reasonably happy with my score, but I do take on board, especially with the expertise on this panel. So like I say, I'm still happy with my score.
Thank you, judges. Can you please rescore this book? So it started at 74, and Tony's looking to get it up to a silver. Okay, the print has come up 1 point to a solid bronze 75. Thank you for that discussion, judges. Can we have the next book, please? Book handling is a little trickier than print handling. Okay, judges, I would invite you to enter your scores from your previous perusal of this publication. Thanks, judges. This feels familiar. We've got a 77 bronze with a challenge from Tony Carter.
Yeah, I'm on 85. The cover layout is so relevant to what's inside this book that it's just everything here has been done to a very precise manner, and just the historical nature of this book, and it's going to be around for a long time and quite relevant to the history of Wellington as well. So I sort of think it's a wee bit bigger than just this is what the photography is about in this book. There's lots of different layers, and it's just been thoroughly researched and well laid out, well designed, and yes, I think it's something that's going to be very timeless and are relevant in the future of New Zealand.
Thanks, Tony. So everyone has the opportunity to comment, I should be clear, on these books. So we might just work our way through. Lisa, do you want to?
Yeah, sure. Agreeing with Tony, I thought the cover was fantastic, and I was actually looking forward to entering the book and seeing what was going on. And then there is some design consideration to the text layout and the flow of the book, so congratulations there. However, I felt that the historical photos were fine, but the supporting new imagery lacked in sort of dimension. It didn't take the book any further. It still felt quite short for me. I also thought that the impact of the overall book was pretty low, and it felt like it was, again, more of a reference textbook rather than a beautiful historical look at people that built and designed Wellington. I think some of the people in the book were not heroically photographed enough for me, and I enjoyed the weight of the book. But yeah, I just felt that the new photography lacked in consideration.
Gary gave me the nod. Can we go there next?
Yeah, look, I understand the importance of the concept we're dealing with and the gravitas related to it. The only thing I could extract from it, though, was it lacked some tightness in terms of an editorial plan. I was still trying to determine what exactly this book was about. Was it about an architecture firm, individuals, or an event? And I don't think any of those three things that meld together actually continued as a constant narrative. The narrative sort of shifted a lot for me, and it needed some tighter editorial work done to it, because I do understand how important this is. It just had a touch of the indulgence about it. And it just needed tightening up in terms of how the concept is put together. It needed to be tighter and stronger and neater and shorter, and it would have had more strength as a result. So I was at 73 in a bronze award.
Glenn?
I was tucked in there at 78, and I've got I don't want to do this, but I really agree with what you said, Lisa, and I was there completely with you. A lot of what I wanted has been said, but the multiple personalities of this book did confuse me a little bit. The production values were awesome. They were just so damn good that I loved the cover, I loved the weight of the pages, etc. That was all excellent, but that almost downgraded the quality of the images, which, as Lisa said, there was no hero shots or not enough hero shots in there. So it was outweighed by the design quality, and it is very high, but this is a photography book, or we're judging it as a photography book primarily, so that's where I had my problem. 78 was my end result.
Got anything to add, David?
Yeah, well said, team. The cover itself has a lot of promise. It speaks about this idea of history, and I thought the design and the production and the quality of the paper and the dimensions of the book delivered that heroic thing, but the photographs didn't quite live up to the heroism that I was kind of led to expect to look at. It's a corporate book. It's there to celebrate some corporate achievements.
Thanks.
My comments. Thanks.
Tony, you get another crack to...
I think a corporate book is where it really truly sits, and I don't think that they want to be heroes in that sense. It's an industry that is based on common sense and very precise things. So I don't believe that the people would have wanted to stand right out. It was sort of more, you're saying that it was sort of an even treatment of the subjects and the people, and I believe that they respectfully did that, so they didn't stand out in particular. And I think the photographer had a good understanding of what they were trying to achieve. I think it's probably a tough book to actually look at in this sort of environment, to be honest, and I found it quite tough to judge that, because it's something that you would need to sit there and look through very thoroughly, just like what engineers do with projects.
Thank you, Tony. Judges, please rescore the book. It's currently sitting on 77. Tony was hoping for a bit more. Print nudges up to 78. Solid bronze. We have the next book, please. Okay, judges, if you can enter those scores, we'll see where we're sitting. Okay, we have a score of 83, silver. Pretty good consensus there, so we'll accept that, but anyone who wishes to comment, you're all welcome to provide some comments. Yeah, Glenn, I see you. Go for it, mate.
Yeah, look, I gave this an 86. It was up there because it was elegant, the simplicity, the pure photographic ability was there, production values were fantastic, it was a pleasure to look through. I think the only thing stopping it being higher for me was the fact I did just want some kind of introduction page or some kind of, I needed words. I'm such a visual person, but there just wasn't enough there. I wanted some background. But loved it visually, loved it.
Cool. Lisa?
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the actual flower. It's called Mrs. something. Does anyone remember? Walnuts, Mrs. something Walnuts, or whatever it was. But it would have been lovely, yes, you're right, to have some sort of little sort of narrative or even just some quotes, some old worldly quotes that related to the flower or related to Mrs. Wilmot or something, a little bit more fantasy. Production was beautiful. I did, however, not enjoy the heaviness of the front cover. I thought that didn't suit the book too much because it had this beautiful flowery, beautiful whiteness about it, but the cover was like opening a door almost. So just to the photographer, if they, bringing this book further forward, think about those things.
Gary, then Tony.
Yeah, look, just something else. I think the relationship between photographer and production house and printer has been really strong too here. They've obviously worked closely together. I wasn't worried about the weight. It actually reminded me of a whole lot of lithographic plates, incredible application to come up with a book around the same subject matter, and every page was a gentle surprise. So well done, photographer. I was on 82, I think I was. Yeah, so all good.
Thanks. David and Tony.
Loved the luscious quality of the prints, and I wanted to spend time with them. I was just hoping maybe for a few more little surprises or twists somewhere along the line, but remarkable consistency and shows a lot of courage to try and work with this kind of subject matter and make an entire book on such a small thing, so I want to celebrate that.
Thanks, David. Tony, we haven't forgotten you.
Yeah, that's okay. I was on 86, and I was just looking for a few more words as well. But I just love the visual hooks that just sort of made you turn another page, and how how things just sort of flowed. You can feel the real artistry in what's been created there, and just how it all just flowed through nicely, and the sharpness and the softness, and so just beautifully handled. I've got no problems with the front cover. I love it, and I love the thickness, and then the chunk of the pages as you went through. Very smart.
Thank you, judges. So that was an 83, which is a solid silver. Can we have the next book, please? Here's our lovely assistant, Kay Davis.
You have to do the hands. I've got some better gloves.
Judges, please enter those scores, and we'll see where we're sitting. Or are we happy with it where it is? We're happy with it where it is? We'll accept that. It's a 69 high professional standard. Does anyone want to comment for the benefit of this photographer? Tony, I see you.
Yeah, I really enjoy the concept of this book.
We all get a chance.
With the pictures, the portraits, I would really have liked to have seen, how these people live or whatever, not just be a portrait of a person with a blurry background, or, just more information for us to take, something from the people and how they live, rather than just a portrait that could be anybody sort of thing in any place. But, it was still very, well laid out, and good on the author for doing something like this.
Glenn?
Yeah, again, I'm with you there, Tony. Some of those images actually did explore character and put them in place, and they were beautifully handled. And then others were a headshot with a blurry background, and it was the consistency I was after. Also, this was down because it was published through Blurb, or it is of a lower quality. The sheen and shine on the front page, etc., doesn't work for me. It just comes in because of the production values a little bit lower. I wanted to see more. I love the idea of the historic value in this, so I think it's actually a really great idea, and we should be doing more of these sort of projects. So I just want to encourage the photographer on that front. Oh, I was a 67.
Lisa?
Yeah, I gave the book 70. Just with book design, everything has to be encapsulated within from the back cover to front cover. So it's sort of a stop motion in time, I guess, when it comes to a book, because people actually stop and then look at the book, and they tend to forget about time. So everything has to come under consideration. And for this book, apart from a little bit more consistency in the photography, but the text was not designed at all. It was no design element in there at all. And what happens there, especially when you use such a common font, it becomes the hero of the book. And even though the images take up a lot of the room on the page, you're overwhelmed by the text. So, to any book designer or even this photographer, just go and have a discussion with a graphic designer on how they treat text, and how changing text font and changing text width and height and all sorts of things can change the weight of the book or the flow.
Thanks, Lisa. David, I saw you itching for the mic before. If you've got anything to add.
No, that covers everything that I was...
Great. Gary?
Oh, look, closing off, I was on 68, and yes, the weighting around text versus image did come into play in this book, and again, some more editorial clout perhaps on some of those stories. You can be just as powerful with a quarter of that text that tells a lot more about the person in a much more succinct manner, but then give the image a bit more space to breathe and a bit more weight to tell for the reader to then come up with an interpretation of that person. So yeah, 68 I was.
Some great feedback for this photographer. Thanks, guys. Can we have the next book, please? All right, judges, can we please wave for the camera and then include your input your scores? Very consistent judging this time, guys. That's an 84. That's a solid silver. Great. Can we have some comments for the author, perhaps, or the photographer? Yeah, Gary.
Yeah, I'll start. I scored the book 84. I thought it was comprehensive. An incredible amount of work has gone into this book. I especially love the quotes, but then the application of the quotes within the context of this huge, massive genre and all the nuances related to wedding photography and all this kind of peripheral things that happen relating to a wedding. So well done to the photographer to piece all of those things together into a cohesive narrative that had a beginning, a middle and an end. So well done.
Great. I think Tony was going to be next, and then we'll come to you, Lisa. Everyone's going to get a chance, don't worry.
Yeah, I scored this 88. And I mean, I'm quite an old fart, and I used to do a lot of weddings. And, I think this is, it's a book about, how to, a young person starts out doing weddings. But I really enjoy how it gives the person who's reading it self-belief that they can actually start doing this and slowly achieve it. And then you can just go back and reference things all the time. And there's so much information and thought gone into this. There's just such a lot of writing, but you just keep taking nuggets all the time. And it's quite amazing. I think probably the weakest component of it is actually the cover.
Yeah. Lisa?
Yeah, thank you, Tony, because I was going to say that the cover doesn't allow you to dream about what the book is going on, on the inside. The inside is has a little bit more flow, a little bit more joy about it. It's very, very, very text heavy, and that's fine. But there are some design drops here and there, like double page spreads where the main character is right in the fold. And I mean, we couldn't break the spine, so we couldn't see what was going on. But just the flow of the book is fantastic. what I would do to the photographer is I would actually send the book to a sub-editor or somebody that knows words and ask them to reduce the words, but still say what you want to say by about a third, and allow then the photography to pop up and shine a bit more.
Glenn?
Yeah, great comments, and I just want to throw in, because I agree very much with what's been said, but what I can add is it's just done a very delicate job, an elegant way of blending in, a how-to photography book, great bits of humour have sliced into it, and, I sat there and pored over it for quite a long time, but I still wanted to read more, and that's always a good sign. Then it was a great combination of those two things, which is a tough ask. Well done.
David?
Yeah, this is a book that has identity. It knows what it is. It's for a niche kind of readership, but it could be wider too. It has a marvellous sense of humour, and I just wanted to keep looking and looking, even though I'm not the wedding photographer. I just found it most intriguing, and as commented, there's some design text kind of issues that could be tightened up, but a lot of marvellous photographic content within there.
Very good. Thank you, judges. So that was an 84 silver. That is all of our book entries. Thanks very much to the NZIPP, all of the entrants and the judges, and everyone watching at home and watching here. See you in the next category.
Thank you. Just to say thank you very much for coming, and especially for this category. Really, really appreciate it. Very much appreciate it.
Pop it. Go on.